Hi, I'm Beth Strathman. Welcome back to my channel. You know, as women, we often get a lot of mixed messages about how we're supposed to show up, particularly at work, where if you're too soft-spoken or reserved, then people don't take you seriously. If you're more assertive and forceful, then they call you some kind of a derogatory word. So it seems like we really can't win. You get dinged for being more on the feminine side of the continuum, and you get dinged if you tend to be more on the masculine side of the continuum as far as your behavior goes. So oftentimes then we start to show up inauthentically just so we can fit in. And if you're really trying to be your authentic self, then you've really got to look at that and decide who you really are and how you can do it in a way, how you are going to show up in the world regardless of what other people think. And if it doesn't work in your workplace or with your particular group of friends, then you might need to find a different workplace or even some different friends. But I think the timeless Greek story about Psyche and Eros gives us some guidance on being more authentic. This is particularly the story that's about Psyche's 4 tasks. So Psyche was this mortal woman who Eros fell in love with, and she fell in love with Eros. But Eros's mother was the goddess Aphrodite. And by the way, Eros is the god of love in the Greek pantheon. And his mother is Aphrodite, who didn't like the fact that he married Psyche because she was a little bit jealous of Psyche. Psyche was quite a beautiful woman. So even before Psyche and Eros were married, she had jinxed Psyche so that she wouldn't fall in love with any mortal man. So, ha ha ha, Aphrodite, she ends up falling in love with your son, the god Eros. So Psyche has a difficult mother-in-law, all right? So one of the deals of Psyche and Eros getting married was that as a god, Psyche was not allowed to look at him. So they married anyway. Have this little thing in their marriage where she can't look at her husband. Okay. So Psyche, though, her curiosity got the better of her. So one night she snuck into Eros's bedroom carrying a candle to light the way and a knife in case when she looked at him, he turned out to be a terrible monster. All right. So she goes in, and as she's bending over to look at him, wax from the candle drips onto him and awakens him. So when Eros awakens, he feels like, okay, I can't trust you. I'm out of here. So he leaves. So of course, Psyche is heartbroken, and she goes to Aphrodite, her contentious mother-in-law, and says, you know what, I'm so sad. How do I win him? How do I get him back? And Aphrodite says, well, I think I can help you, but you're going to have to do 4 tasks before I will help you get him back. So here are the 4 tasks that Aphrodite had Psyche perform. The first task was to sort millions of seeds. She put Psyche in a room that was filled with a variety of seeds, different kinds, and just tons of them. And she says, you have until, she puts her in the room in the evening and says, you have until tomorrow morning to sort all these seeds according to their type. So of course, Psyche looks at him and thinks, how am I going to do this? So while she's sort of feeling sorry for herself and overwhelmed, a corps of tiny ants, a whole line of them, comes into the room and starts sorting the seeds for her. So throughout the night, the ants helped her to sort all of the seeds and got the task performed. So what can we learn from this sorting of the seeds that Psyche had to go through? So at first, we're overwhelmed. We don't have faith in ourselves that we can complete a challenging task and do it well. But what we need to do, as happened in the story, is listen to that tiny voice inside us, that tiny voice represented by the ants who come in, and then sift and sort through the relevant details so that we can figure out what to keep and what to let go of that meets our goals and priorities. That's really about discernment and staying on track with what your values are and your priorities are and your goals are, to get things done and to remain authentic to yourself. Okay, Psyche's second task. So Aphrodite's not too pleased that Psyche completed the first very difficult task. So she devises something even more difficult, or as difficult at least, as the first. Psyche's second task is to get golden fleece off the rams of Zeus, right? Now, you'd think that sheep, not so difficult to deal with. You can get some fleece from some sheep. It won't be so hard, a few tufts here and there. But Zeus's rams were really unruly, aggressive kind of beast, right? You don't want to mess with them. And so, of course, Psyche's like going, how am I going to do this, right? Again, she doesn't have faith in herself. She questions herself. She feels overwhelmed. And then a flexible reed comes along, as flexible reeds are wont to do, and says, if you wait until the sheep, the rams, leave the pasture to go back to, where they stay for the night, then you can just go into the pasture and there will be tufts of the golden fleece that they've left on brambles and thorns and bushes in the field. So then you can collect golden fleece when they're not even around. So she does so. So what do we learn from this? Again, we're going to feel overwhelmed, but what we need to do is to be flexible enough so that we can avoid any, conflict with what we need to achieve or accomplish, and wait for an opportune time to move forward with what we're trying to achieve so that we can stay authentic to ourselves. Don't force things. Stay authentic to yourself and wait for the right time to go after what you want. All right, so Aphrodite again. Can't believe that Psyche has completed the second task of gathering the golden fleece. So she devises an even more difficult task for the third thing that she's going to have Psyche do. And in this third task, Aphrodite tells Psyche that she has to collect water in a little vial from this stream that is really precariously situated. It's really hard to get to, and there are dragons around it. And so Psyche's like, oh, how am I gonna get the water out of this stream? There doesn't seem to be like a good access point. The dragons are all over the place. This is impossible, right? Again, she doesn't have faith in herself. But then one of Zeus's eagles flies over, grabs the flask that Psyche is holding to gather the water in, and takes the water, dips down, flies over the stream, dips down, gets the water, and takes it back to Psyche. So what does this teach us? This teaches us to remain authentic. Don't get too far down in the weeds or get too caught up in your own perspective. Like an eagle, take a broader perspective. See if you can get the widest perspective possible on the situation so that you can see a creative way to accomplish it. In that way, you're not going to push yourself to do things that you wouldn't normally do or be someone who you wouldn't normally be. You're going to remain authentic to yourself and still creatively, with broad perspective, get whatever you need to do accomplished. Now for Psyche's fourth task. So Aphrodite's like, okay, look, I know this mortal woman, and I know she's got a soft heart. So I'm going to devise this last task. There's no way she's going to do this. So the last task is she sends Psyche, she says, you need to go to Persephone in the underworld and get her, beauty cream from her. She has a beautiful beauty cream. It's wonderful. You need to go down there and fetch me her beauty cream and put it in this little box. So Psyche's like, oh my gosh, underworld? How am I going to do this? But here's the rub. Even more difficult, Aphrodite says, and when you go down there are going to be desperate souls there who are going to beg you for help, right? I'm going to make this even more difficult because I know you have a soft heart, and I'm going to put people around, or souls around, who need a lot of help, and they're going to be begging you for it. So see if you can get past that. So Psyche just like, throwing up her hands, but, she'll give it a try, right? So then a tall, strong tower comes along and says to Psyche, look, don't get distracted. Move past those people, those souls. They are just a distraction. You can't help them anyway. Just keep going and go after the beauty cream and retrieve it. You can do it. Strengthen your resolve, move past those people, and complete the task. So Psyche does. So the lesson from this fourth task is to stay focused on who you are and what you want. Don't get distracted by what other people think, what other people expect of you. Just keep going and do the work that's needed to do to get what you want. That's the way to stay authentic to yourself as you're going after your goals. So those are the 4 lessons that we learned from Psyche. First of all, listen to that little soft voice inside yourself to guide you, and be discerning about what fits your priorities and values. Second, wait for an opportune time to go after what you need. Stay authentic to yourself and don't try to force it. Third, get the broadest perspective possible so you can see the big picture, so that you can see a creative way in to solve your problems. Stay authentic to yourself. Don't force it. Fourth, strengthen your resolve, move past distractions, and go after what you want. Don't let other people tell you what to think or to be. Stay authentic to yourself. So those are the 4 lessons from the story of Psyche's 4 tasks. And, by the way, Psyche got her beloved Eros back because Aphrodite kept her word and helped her to be reunited with Eros in the end. So when you get confusing feedback, either with friends or at work, about who you're supposed to be, maybe Psyche's 4 tasks can help you remember what's really important about authentically approaching things in your way without feeling like you have to please other people all the time. Thanks for watching. I'm Beth Strathman.